Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm giving you guys some thriller recs because we are coming up on spooky season. Guys, actually the day this video goes up, I'm pretty sure like it's like September 30th, which means that October 1st is tomorrow. And wait, it is 30 days in September, right? There's not 31 days in September. Okay, well, it's the 29th when this video goes up. So we're 2 days away from October 1st. And guys, I'm not really a big Halloween person, but I love like a good thriller. I love like a good mystery. Like, I love the weather. So like, I love like the fall vibes and like a little bit of the spooky season, you know? But I'm not like really big on like Halloween, I guess you can say. But yes, so I'm gonna give you guys some recommendations and I'm gonna share with you guys what my like thriller TBR is for the month of October, because I am planning to read thrillers throughout the entire month, along with like some of my normal like fantasy and romance books, but I do plan to read quite a bit of thrillers throughout the month that I am excited to get to. So let's talk about these recommendations. The first book I have for you guys is Alice Feeney. It's by Alice Feeney, His and Hers. If you guys know, I am absolutely obsessed with her. I read Rock, Paper, Scissors by her. That was my first book I read by her earlier this year, and I absolutely loved it. One of my favorite thrillers to this day. And this was the second book I picked up by her, and I didn't love it as much as Rock, Paper, Scissors, but I've like recommended that to you guys so many times. But I really did like this one, and I gave this one 4 stars. And how do I explain this book? Basically, there is a bunch of murders happening around a town, and His and Hers, the main male character and the main female character. The female character is a journalist, reporter type person, and then the main male character, he is like an investigator, and they were married, but then they got divorced, and now their paths are crossing again thanks to these murders happening. And yeah, they are trying to figure out who did it, while also simultaneously like hating each other while doing it. So that is what this one is about. Like I said, I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4 stars, and I think it's perfect. Like, if you just want like something where you were like trying to guess the entire time who it is, I think like this book is perfect for that. And I love how Alice Feeney, like whenever she writes her stories, like when you look back, it's still like you're like, I still wouldn't have guessed that. Like, even like when you find out who like what the twist was, like when you find out who's responsible for like what's happening in the book, when you look back, you're like, yeah, no, I would not have guessed that. Like, and that's what I love about it. I love like even like when I look back and it's like, oh yeah, I still wouldn't have guessed that. Like, I love those kind of books. It's actually part of a series, so this is the first book in the Natural series. And I think I read Killer Instinct in one of my reading diaries. But this series is like these kids are called the Naturals because they have special like abilities to basically learn how to read people, or like one person knows like when a person is lying, another person can like tell a person like what they're feeling just by their facial expressions. And so yeah, they are working on cold cases, like serial killer cold cases. And throughout the series though, they kind of start to work on active cases, and they're not supposed to work on active cases. And so this book, the first book, is when they start working on their very first active case. And yeah, it's like a mystery because you are trying to figure out, you know, who's doing these murders. And within that, like all the kids in the program, they also have like secrets of their own, or like past, that kind of play into like their like current situation. So I really like it. I think it's perfect for the spooky season because it's not like gruesome, but it's also like I want to pick up the next book. Like, I love it. And like I said, it's like it gives me mystery vibes. And it's so easy to fly through. Like, the writing is just so easy to understand, and it's just like one of those books where you just like immediately get involved and you're just like, I can't put it down. next I have A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. And guys, so this wasn't my favorite, but I still feel like I have to recommend it because it was good. It was good, but for me, it started to be a little bit slow, but also I'm a very impatient person and the twists were just eating me up. And I intentionally went on Goodreads and was like trying to look at reviews, hoping to find a spoiler, because there were literally so many unanswered questions and it just got too much for me. I was like, I cannot wait another page to see like what's gonna happen. So I found only one spoiler, which I mean, I wasn't like too mad about it because obviously I intentionally went on there looking for a spoiler. But I feel like that's why I have to recommend this, because even though it wasn't my favorite, the fact that it was eating me up to a point like I just had to know what happened, I feel like that's what you want out of a thriller. Like, you want to be able to not be able to put it down. And like I said, that was just my impatience. Like, most people probably have made it through the book and not did that, but I was just literally like on the edge of my seat. Like, I cannot take this anymore. Like, it was just too much. It was too much. I was freaking out. I was like, who the heck is responsible for at least one of these things? So like that is so if you're like me and you're like, I want something I recommend this one, but just be aware that you are gonna be at the edge of your seat, kind of like, please tell me just a piece of like what's happening. So yes, I loved it, but like I said, it wasn't my favorite. I think I gave it 4 stars, 3.5 or 4 stars. And I think part of that was because I ended up like looking up a spoiler, because like, I don't know, I don't know how to explain it, but a girl, her father was convicted of being a serial killer for multiple girls in their town when she was growing up. And so now her father is, I think he's incarcerated. He's not dead, he's incarcerated. And so out of nowhere, she's like moved on, she's like grown up, she's gotten her career and everything. She's a psychiatrist, and out of nowhere, murders start happening again, and it's happening to the girls around the same age that it happened when she was a kid. And so her dad is incarcerated and she's just like, what is happening? Like, why is this suddenly happening around me again? And then she just deals with all the trauma that comes with all of that. And so yeah, she's like trying to actively figure out who is responsible for this. And you know, because it's just bringing back memories for her. Her dad you know, was convicted of this crime, and it's like she knows it's not her dad again, because obviously like he's incarcerated. So yeah, that's the mystery. But there's so many other pieces to it, like she's getting engaged, and so her husband is just not like, he seems like too good to be true almost. So it's like, I feel like he was hiding something, and I was just like, give me an inch. Like, even the person she ends up working with to try to like help solve the case, like, he was giving me vibes, and I was like, there's too many secrets going on. And so like, I had to know at least one of those secrets before I can continue the book. But yes, like I said, there's a lot of like questions that you're going to be having through this book. So I do recommend it. I highly recommend it. Like I said, I loved it. It was just the fact that like, I just hated that like I didn't have not even one answer to a question, and I just couldn't hold out any longer. So okay, so next I have a book that's a part of a trilogy, but this is the first book in the trilogy, and I'm pretty sure everyone has heard of this book at this point, but it is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. And all these are murder mysteries. We love a good murder mystery. But yes, I love this book. I'm actually planning to read the second one, which is Good Girl Bad Blood. I'm hoping to read it this month, for the month of October, but we will see. It's kind of like, I'm not itching to pick it up, but I do want to continue the series. Like, you can read this one and just be done with it, which is what I like. Like, I wasn't like, feel like I had to pick up the next one. But I did love the story, and I do want to see what happens, you know, for the main character after the ending of this book. But this is about a high schooler, and there is a death that happens among like her, well, not her classmates, but like upperclassmen for her. And actually there's 2 murders, but one of, well, not 2 murders, but there's a murder, and then the guy that got convicted of the murder ended up killing himself. And so she is trying to figure out what happened. She's trying to like really find out the truth, because she doesn't believe that the kid that was convicted actually committed the first murder, and then also she just doesn't believe that the guy actually ended up killing himself. And so yeah, she's actually only doing it for a project, but then it gets into something serious, and she's like really investigating and really trying to figure out what happened and all of this. So I love, like, it was, you go through these like what do you call them, but you go through like her synopsis every time she's like figuring something out. She ends up like jotting it down for her project, and so you get to read that, but then you also get to read like as the moments are happening and the people she's coming in contact with and all of that. She puts herself in some dangerous situations to try to figure this out, and she also gets to work with the brother of the boy that was found guilty for the girl's murder. And the 2 people that did die, the girl and the guy, they actually were in a relationship. So it's like, oh, she killed her boyfriend, he killed his girlfriend, and da 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 da, like that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yes, Andy Bell was murdered by her boyfriend. That's like the thing she does not believe. So she's trying to figure out who killed Andy, but she's also trying to figure out who killed the boyfriend. So yeah, that was a lot, but it was a lot of she stuff. But yeah, I highly recommend it. It was so easy to read, and I think it's just like seeing like this little, like this, not little girl, but little girl in the sense like she's only in high school, but seeing her like actively like trying to do this, like she's so invested, and like it all started out as a project for her, is like so interesting to me. It's probably one of my favorites ever, but it's The Silent Patient by Alex, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Michaelidis. It's Michael in there, but then it's Idis. I don't know. I don't want to butcher it, but this is actually the first book I read by a male author, and I think it wasn't my first psychological thriller, but I absolutely devoured this book. I gave it a 4.25. But now that I think back on it, I'm like, it probably could be like a 4.5. I don't really rate thrillers 5 stars, but this is up there for me to like say a 4.5. I really loved it, and the ending still gets me. I'm like, we could so use a second book, but I mean, it's not needed, but I'm like, I just kind of miss like everything about this book. But the guy, what's his name, the main guy, Theo, that's his name. He's a psychotherapist. He's a criminal psychotherapist, and there's this woman named Alicia, and she is found guilty of killing her husband, and then she doesn't speak for like, is it 12 years? She doesn't speak for like a long time. I honestly don't remember how long it is, but she doesn't speak for years. And so she kind of just gets known as a silent patient because, and she's not in jail. They put her in a psych ward, because obviously they think something's wrong for the fact that she's not talking after, you know, she supposedly killed her husband. So Theo, the psychotherapist, is intrigued by this, and he is determined to try to get Alicia to talk after years of her not talking. And you just get to see how that works for him, like him trying to just put the pieces together, trying to figure out, you know, why she isn't talking, you know, if she's the one found guilty for this murder, like all of that. And it just takes a ginormous twist, and oh, that's all I can say without spoiling it for you guys. But it is so worth the read. Literally, like, I still think about this book sometimes to this day, and I'm just like, this was probably one of the best psychological thrillers I have ever read. So do yourself a favor and read that book. The Housemate by Freida McFadden. I feel like everyone already knows this book, but guys, I ate this book up. I love Freida McFadden's work. Like every thriller I've read by her, they're just so mind gripping and enticing, and you just like fly through it. Like before you even know it's over, and you're just like, dang, like I just flew through that. And also I think all of her books are on Kindle Unlimited, so that's also a plus there. But The Housemate is about a character. Her name is, what is her name? Nina. I was gonna say, no, her name is not Nina. That's the person who hires her. I forgot her name, but basically she ends up, she's a convicted felon and she is out of jail trying to start a new life. And obviously it's very hard for incarcerated people once they release to get jobs. So she ends up taking the job as the housemaid, and the woman she ends up taking the job for, she's so hot and cold. Like one day she's like, oh, I love her, and the next day she's like, you're doing everything wrong. And so it's just like this whole whirlwind, and we just don't know what the heck is up with Nina, who is the wife of the person who hired, basically the woman, her employer. And so she also has a daughter. Nina has a daughter. So I just like really want, I cannot remember her name. Millie, that's her name. Okay. Oh my gosh, I was like, it's something with 2 L's. But yes, so Millie gets the job as a housemaid for Nina, and Nina has a daughter. So Millie is essentially like taking care of the daughter, also taking care of the household. Nina does have a husband, but he's very hands-off. He's not really, you know, like, he's just kind of like doing his thing, you know. When he sees Nina act out, he does try to help Millie. He does try to help Millie, like kind of just like not leave, and kind of be like, okay, like try to apologize on Nina's behalf. But yeah, so we find out eventually why Nina is the way she is, and yeah, it turns crazy, but it is so worth the read. Also, The Housemaid Secret came out, I think, earlier this year. That is also on my TBR, which we'll talk about in a minute. But yes, I highly recommend this one. I highly recommend all of these, obviously, but I absolutely loved it. I did not expect the twist, and Freida McFadden just never failed. Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose, and she's one of my favorite thriller writers also. Like, oh my gosh, I don't know how like people who write like psychological thrillers and thrillers, like I don't know how they do it, because like, how do you think of this twist? Like, do you like think of the twist first and then write everything else, or do you like write everything and then be like, what could be the craziest twist in the world? Like, I just want to know how their minds work. But this one, it's his mistress is dead, his wife is his only hope. So what happens in this, there's a marriage, and the husband ends up having commits infidelity, and it's been going on for a while. His mistress, like, they have been like messing around for months at his and his wife's like vacation home. And so out of nowhere, he's at the vacation home one day, and when he wakes up, his mistress is dead, and that obviously does not look good for him. That's not a good look. Nobody even knows that he is, like, you know, with this woman, because obviously, like, it was a secret. So his wife is actually a well-known lawyer, and she ends up basically being his lawyer for this case. So, you know, it's kind of hard. It's like, dang, you were defending your husband that cheated on you. So you can only imagine how that goes, and everything that happens. And it's so worth it. And you're gonna be like very shooketh when you finish it. You're gonna be like, how did I miss the signs? But yeah, it is crazy. Lastly, for the last book I have, which this is the most recent thriller I read, but it's The Last Word by Taylor Adams. And guys, I don't know what he put in this book, but he put crack in this book, because I have not stopped thinking about this book. Anytime I think of a thriller, I automatically think about this one, and I'm just like I'm just still baffled at like what I read. I'm like, how, like, where did I like miss something? But Oh, this book is so good. Highly recommend it. The main character, which obviously I don't remember her name, Emma is living in isolation. She used to have a really, you know, good life. She was married, all of this, but something tragic happened and she ended up kind of separating herself from the world. So she ends up taking this job as a house sitter, and on this, like, in this beach town, but like all the houses are like so far away from each other. But she is a reader and she ends up reading a thriller, but she hates it and ends up rating it 1 star and leaving comments. And the author of the book actually responds to her and is like, please take these down, like, you're like messing up my livelihood, basically like going back and forth with her about like taking her review down, and she's refusing to take the review down. And then out of nowhere, creepy things start happening, and obviously the assumption is that it is the author doing these things, because even his responses, like in their conversations, like alludes to him being the one responsible for these creepy things that keep happening. And yeah, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier, and I love that like throughout the book you get to see like the present as it's happening, and then you also get to see like the future as it like written in the book, because it's written as like the person who you can say is responsible for the crimes, or not even the person who's responsible for the crimes, but like think of it like once the story was released, like once everything was out in the news, someone went back and wrote a book about it. So you get to read like from the present, and then you get to look at it like being retold in a book. So I really like that. It was very different to see like how it was happening, and then like the next chapter would be like, okay, well, this is how the book like said it happened, and you get to see the difference. And all this time you're trying to figure out who is writing this, and you're also trying to figure out who is responsible for these crimes, or the weird things that are happening. So you're like trying to figure out two things, and like I said, to this day I'm still like, how did I, like, it was just what the twist was. I actually did suspect it, but like something happened where like I was like, there's no way that is, and then it just like flew out of my head. I was like, yeah, that was wrong. But then it was like that turned out to be what happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's how you write a thriller. Like you had me thinking that I had it right, but then you made me completely think that like, okay, there was no way that's possible, and then it turns out that that's what happened. Guys, literally amazing. But those are the 8 books that I am recommending to you guys for the spooky season, and now we will talk about the books that I plan to read this season. Now to the books that I am planning to read this month, this spooky season. So first we have the Housemate Secret. So like I said, I am planning to read this one. I actually started it like when it first came out, but I think I only made it to 1 chapter, and it wasn't that it was bad, it was just that I wasn't in the mood for a thriller, so I just put it down and I was like, you know, I'll eventually get to it. And so now I am planning to finally get to it. I do know basically it continues from Millie's point of view after everything that happens in the Housemate, essentially what happens after everything, like how she moves on with her life. So yes, I am excited to read this one. Like I said, I started it, put it down, so I'm like, it's been like there, like in the back of my head, like, Jasmine, you gotta finish it. So we're gonna finish it this month. Next I have How to Survive Your Murder by Danielle Valentine, and I ended up seeing this one, I think it was like Target Book Talk or something, like it was, or Books A Million Book Talk, like basically where like the stores like put like what's popular on Book Talk. And so this was what popped up, and when I saw this I immediately thought of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Like the cover, I don't know why, it's just giving me Good Girl's Guide to Murder vibes, and I was like, well, I love that book, so let me try this one. So I actually have no idea what it's about. I'm gonna assume that maybe it's a high schooler, but on the back it just says, rule number 1, never go into the corn maze alone. Rule number 2, nothing good happens on Halloween. Rule number 3, never be distracted by a hot boy. And rule number 4, don't die this time. So Halloween, like this is the perfect month to read it. Like obviously something happens on Halloween, so super excited to read this one. It seems like it's gonna be a really quick read. The font is not that small, and then there's only there is only 300 pages, 296 to be exact. So I mean, I feel like I may just knock that out on Halloween. Like, we'll see. The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. But I have been wanting to read writing by him for the longest, and I keep putting books of his on my TBR and then I never get to them. So I'm just like, Jasmine, you're gonna do it this month. Like, I have so many of his books at this point, and I'm just like, why have I not read any of them? Like, I don't know, but this month is gonna be the month, and I'm super excited. This one just says 2 truths and a lie. Vivian, Natalie, Allison, and Emma played it all the time at a camp Nightingale. But the games ended the night Emma sleepily watched the others sneak out of the cabin into the darkness. The last she or anyone saw of them was Vivian closing the cabin door, hushing Emma with the finger pressed to her lips. Ooh. There's a whole bunch, but I kind of like want to go into it like not knowing anything else. So we'll see. I'm excited. Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica, and I have seen this everywhere. Everyone's been talking about this book. I have had it, guys. I think I bought this book around this time last year, and it just like, it was like one of those books I bought, but like I had no intentions of reading it immediately, and now it's kind of like, okay, I'm seeing it everywhere. Like, start reading it now. Like, you have it, read it. So I went ahead and put it on my TBR for this month, and I am super excited to read it. I think it's about a woman that goes missing, obviously. It just says people don't just disappear without a trace. Shelby Tebow is the first to go missing, then Meredith Dickey and her 6-year-old daughter. Okay, it looks like a whole bunch of people go missing. So we're gonna stop there. We're not gonna ruin it. We're gonna go into it semi-blind, I guess. But I feel like, did this turn into like a movie or like a TV? Like, why do I feel like it turned into like a show or a movie or something? Like, I feel like I've seen it recently, like on Netflix or something. I don't know, but I'm gonna read the book and I will let you guys know how it is. Like I said, I'm super excited. I've been seeing it everywhere, and I've been trying to avoid spoilers, so fingers crossed we're gonna get to that. Lastly, I have another book by Frida McFadden, because this was the original Frida McFadden book I wanted to read this month. But when I kept seeing the Housemate secret continuously pop up again, I was like, okay, maybe I'll put that one first and then I'll read this one. So if I finish that one, if I finish all of these books, my 4 books, I plan to read The Coworker by Frida McFadden, which this is her most recent release, and I'm not gonna read the back, but it just says here, you see her every day, but do you really know her? And I honestly don't know what that means. I don't know what this will entail, but I'm excited to read it. Like I said, Frida McFadden's writing, I literally eat up. I love it so much. So I have high expectations. I have high expectations for that book. And like I said, it is her most recent release. So we will see. Let me know what you guys plan to read. Let me know if you've read any of these recommendations or any of them on my TBR. And yeah, let's talk about our little spooky season reads, because you know, it's the perfect time for it. You know, it's fall, it's Nashville. It's not really cool yet. It's like last week was cool, but then like now we're back in the 80s, and I'm just like, this is not gonna work. Like, come on, we're like 5 days away from October now. Stop playing. Give me the breeze. Like, I'm trying to wear hoodies outside now. So yes, but I want to thank you guys for watching, and I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.